Hello everyone. My name is Hunter, and this is a spoiler review of The Mandalorian Chapter 23. Now, this episode starts off with us going back to a plot line that I wasn't all that fond of because it took up almost the entire episode, and that's episode 3 of this season. So we're back with Elia Kane, the woman who destroyed Dr. Penn Pershing's mind, erasing his memory. And she's talking to who other than Moff Gideon, because Moff Gideon is back. I love Moff Gideon. It's just we've seen him now for so many times being the big villain of the season. It's just kind of hoping for someone else because we just beat him twice, and now he's come back a third time. It's just kind of annoying. It's feeling like the entire Palpatine situation again. It's just makes them. These are great bad guys. It just prefer some new ones, new interesting ones. And so they're talking together. They're talking about the cloning, which, the cloning that was mentioned in episode 3, which is what Dr. Penn Pershing was working on. He was working on new ways to clone. And this is kind of indicating about Palpatine's return, all the cloning stuff and how he returned with that. Again, I wasn't very fond of Palpatine returning in the first place. It's like, I like that they're explaining Palpatine's return. I just kind of wish it happened in the movies, not in a spin-off TV show of the movies. That's what I kind of wish. I would be a lot more okay with Palpatine's return if it happened in the movies. Because now you kind of have to watch The Mandalorian to understand it, which is kind of happening with all of Disney Plus shows and stuff. You kind of got to watch the shows to understand the movies a bit. And I hope that won't be the exact same way with Star Wars, because it's been the case with Marvel quite a bit. Especially with it may be a little hard to understand Doctor Strange if you didn't watch WandaVision, not WanderVision. And so let's continue the episode. I'm looking over here because I got the plot up here just to remind me. But we got yes, IG-12. So IG-12 kind of comes back. He or at least the carcass of IG-12 comes back, and Grogu is going to pilot it. Yep. So the little Babu Frick, he made like a little cockpit inside of IG-12 for Grogu to sit in, and so now Grogu can actually just like walk around and fight and stuff. He's essentially a droid. And he also has this little button on the side that has like 2 dialogue options, one being yes and the other one being no. And it's so funny. He's like a little toddler running around. Din Djarin's like, "You're not having this this droid armor here." And he's pressing that no button constantly. He's like, "No, no, no." It's so funny. I love it. I love what they did with this. That's the thing. I was so worried that they were going to bring back IG-12 because I was like, it kind of ruins the impact of his death if you bring him back. And I think this is a lot better. We kind of have IG-12 back a little bit, even though it's kind of dark if you think about it. If he was a person, this would be pretty dark, but he's a droid, so it's fine. But yeah, I really love it. And this may just be him for the rest of Mandalorian. I'm not sure, but I'm okay with it. And so the Mandalorian tribes that Bo-Katan got in the last episode, and the ones that we've seen from most of the season, they all get together. They aren't very happy with each other, but they learn to deal with. They learn to live with it. They learn to live with each other. They have to, in order to rebuild the planet of Mandalore. And so that's where we go next. We now go to the planet of Mandalore. A big group of the Mandalorians go to the planet to scout it out a little bit and find the forge. The armor's big grand forge, because that's the one that's on the planet of Mandalore. And so they get there. They're walking around and they find kind of like these pirate Mandalorians. And so these Mandalorian pirates, they're so happy that they're seeing Bo-Katan back. They're seeing their leader back, and Bo-Katan is feeling kind of guilty because she wasn't the reason Mandalore got destroyed, but she gave up she gave up the dark saber to Moff Gideon to keep the planet safe, and that didn't go so well because Moff Gideon just bombed the planet anyways, and so she feels guilt about that. She's and frankly, she said it was the only way that they could save Mandalore if just in case Moff Gideon actually did keep his promise and not destroy Mandalore. But all the Mandalorians on the pirate ship seem to empathize with her, and they realize that this really was the only way they could have survived. Um, and so everyone has a bit more respect. Din Djarin says that he will follow her to the end, and it's just this sweet moment until they get attacked by a giant monster. Again, I don't know what it is about these Mandalorians always getting attacked by these giant creatures, but they do. They seem to attract them like they're magnets. And so the entire ship gets destroyed. They hide in a cave. So now they have to go through the cave to find the forge now. And wouldn't you know it, they run into some stormtroopers who start shooting them. The Mandalorians are pretty good at holding their own. I think if not many of the Mandalorians die, but a lot of the stormtroopers do. But they're still kind of backed into a corner. So the Mandalorians retreat. They run into a room, unlock the door behind them. They run into a different room. Din Djarin heads into the other room first, and then the door behind him shuts. So now all the Mandalorians are stuck in that first room, while Din Djarin is stuck in that second room. It's very confusing to explain, but it's pretty obvious when you watch it. And wouldn't you know it, it's Moff Gideon. He's here. They start beating up Din Djarin. Grogu looks extremely sad that he's seeing his father getting beat up. So Din Djarin gets captured by Moff Gideon, and then Moff Gideon just tells the stormtroopers to kill the rest of the Mandalorians. So the stormtroopers are trying to get back into the room where all the Mandalorians are locked in, and Bo-Katan takes the darksaber and cuts a hole in the other side so they can get out. So she does that. They all start getting out. The doors open, and Paz, the big guy Mandalorian, he just starts shooting at him, and he tells Bo-Katan that he's going to give them some time to run. And so this is where Paz has his entire little solo fight with all these stormtroopers, and he destroys every single one of these stormtroopers. And it only gets to like these royal guards or something. There were like stormtroopers wearing the red helmets and the robes and stuff. Those are the people who beat him. They're pretty much like the only stormtrooper variant, I guess, that can actually stand toe to toe with Mandalorian. But yeah, he took out so many of those stormtroopers. It was really impressive. And honestly, I didn't think that he had to die story wise. I mean, everyone was already motivated. This didn't really motivate anyone. It just felt like it Paz's death just felt like it was something for the audience to me. It didn't feel like it was anything for any of the characters, any more character development for any of them. But nonetheless, I loved how he went out in a blaze of glory, defeating all of these stormtroopers and only getting beat because he was fighting 3 stormtroopers who were practically as skilled as him. And so that's the end of the episode right there. And I gotta say that this was my favorite episode of the season. I think it was very well written, and I just loved it. I loved Grogu and the IG-12 droid carcass. I loved all the action. It was fun. I loved the dialogue in this one with Bo-Katan and Din Djarin discussing her sacrifice to save Mandalore. And so it's just a really strong episode. So my favorite part about this episode is that it really pulled everything that we've been watching all season into one thing, one great storyline here. Except for the entire 3rd episode of the season, I still don't know why we needed that, but I digress. So if I had to give this episode a grade, I would give it a grade out of 0 to 100. I would give it an 85%. I think it was a really strong episode. And that's about it. So I do thank you for watching. If you liked what you saw here today, please subscribe. It really helped me out. And thank you. Goodbye.